James's world unraveled the moment he spotted the blister pack on the bathroom counter. Its presence in their home was as out of place as it was ominous. Turning it over in his hands, he saw the label confirming what he'd feared: birth control pills. This discovery struck James like a physical blow. He had undergone a vasectomy after their second child, Sam, was born. Why would Rebecca, his wife of 8 years, need contraception? Trying to shake off his growing unease, James placed the pack back in its hiding spot and left the bathroom. From the living room, the sound of Emily, 6, and Sam, 4, playing filled the air. Their laughter, usually a comfort, now felt distant and hollow. That morning, James dropped the kids at school and daycare as his mind raced. Rebecca had already left for work, her cheerful goodbye now ringing with an insincerity he couldn't ignore. Determined to find answers, James began piecing together a plan: DNA testing for the kids and discreet surveillance at home. It wasn't just about infidelity anymore, it was about the very fabric of his life. James moved with quiet resolve, methodically gathering what he needed. Over the next week, while Rebecca thought he was at the office working late, James was combing through their home for signs of deceit. Hairbrushes, toothbrushes, any potential DNA sample from Emily and Sam was carefully collected and stored for testing. To ensure he had all the answers, James installed small cameras in the kitchen, living room, and their bedroom. He made sure they were hidden, blending into the decor. Rebecca remained none the wiser. By midweek, the cameras began to pay off. At first, the footage was ordinary. Rebecca cooked, played with the kids, and folded laundry. But as Thursday evening rolled around, James noticed something odd. Rebecca sat on the living room couch, her phone pressed to her ear. Her tone was low and urgent. James strained to make out her words from the camera's audio. "Robert Collins?" "Yes, I know. We'll figure it out. Just don't call me tomorrow." The name stopped James cold. Robert Collins was Rebecca's boss. He watched as she laughed softly, twirling a strand of her hair around her finger. The intimacy in her voice was unmistakable. This was no professional conversation. James closed his laptop that night, his heart pounding. The trust he had clung to for so long was slipping away, replaced by a gnawing dread. The next day, Friday, brought another revelation. Watching the day's footage, James froze when he heard Rebecca talking to the kids. "After school today we're going to visit Robert," she said cheerfully. "But remember, this is our little secret, okay? Daddy can't know. If he does, the evil fairy will come and take him away forever." The children nodded solemnly, repeating their promise to keep the secret. James's breath caught. She was using their kids to shield her deceit. The manipulation was almost too much to bear. Rage surged through him, but he forced himself to remain calm. Later that night, James returned home, exhausted but composed. Rebecca greeted him warmly, seemingly unaware of his growing turmoil. They made small talk over dinner, her playful laughter only deepening the bitterness he felt. When the house finally went quiet and Rebecca had gone to bed, James stayed up reviewing the footage again. The betrayal was undeniable. The wife he thought he knew had become a stranger. By Sunday evening, James's DNA test results arrived in his inbox. He opened the email with trembling hands. The words on the screen hit him like a sledgehammer. Probability of paternity, 0%. Emily and Sam weren't his children. The air left his lungs as he reread the results, hoping the words might change. They didn't. Rebecca's betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was biological, foundational. His marriage was a lie. Worse still, the timing and details pointed to Robert Collins as the likely father. Anger replaced the despair that had consumed him. James had loved and cared for Emily and Sam as his own. He had built his life around them. But Rebecca and Robert had stolen that from him. On Monday morning, James made his first move. He called Angela Miller, a skilled attorney he had worked with in the past. By lunchtime he was sitting in her office, laying everything bare. The pills, the DNA test, the surveillance, and Rebecca's secret visits to Robert. Angela listened intently, her sharp mind piecing together a plan. "This is a betrayal of the worst kind," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But you can't let your emotions cloud your judgment. This isn't just about revenge, it's about protecting your future." Angela outlined the steps they needed to take: securing James's assets, documenting everything, and preparing for the legal battle ahead. "Don't confront her yet," Angela warned. "Let her think you're in the dark. The element of surprise will give us the upper hand." James nodded, her words grounding him in a way nothing else had. He was done being blindsided. James followed Angela's advice to the letter. Over the next few weeks, he moved quietly, ensuring Rebecca had no inkling of what was coming. With Angela's help, he secured his finances, locking down joint accounts and transferring his savings into a private trust. Every detail of Rebecca's deceit was meticulously documented: the surveillance footage, the DNA test results, and her messages with Robert. All the while, James maintained a facade of normalcy at home. Rebecca continued her routine, seemingly unaware of the storm brewing around her. But then one Friday night the carefully laid pretense came to an end. James returned home earlier than usual, carrying a folder containing the divorce papers Angela had prepared. Rebecca was in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She looked up as he entered, her smile fading when she saw his expression. "Rebecca," James said, his voice calm but cold. He placed the folder on the coffee table and sat down across from her. "We need to talk." Rebecca's brows furrowed as she opened the folder. Her eyes widened when she saw the bold heading, "Petition for Divorce." "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "It's exactly what it looks like," James replied evenly. "I know everything." Rebecca's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. "James, this is insane. You're overreacting." "No, Rebecca," James said sharply, his voice cutting through her denial. "I found the pills. I heard you tell the kids to keep secrets. And then there's the DNA test. Emily and Sam aren't mine." Rebecca's face drained of color. For a moment she was silent, then she began to stammer. "James, I can explain." "Explain what?" James interrupted, his anger finally bubbling to the surface. "That you've been lying to me for years? That you've been seeing Robert behind my back? That you let me believe those kids were mine?" Tears welled in Rebecca's eyes, but James wasn't moved. "You've used me, Rebecca," he said, his voice steady. "You manipulated me and you involved the kids in your lies. I won't let you do it anymore." Rebecca's expression hardened. "You don't understand," she said, her voice trembling with desperation. "It wasn't like that. I didn't plan for this to happen." "Stop," James said, cutting her off. "I don't care about your excuses. This ends now." Rebecca's tears turned to anger. "You're going to destroy our family, James? Do you think the kids won't notice? Do you think they won't suffer because of this?" James's jaw tightened. "The kids don't deserve this, but that's on you. You're the one who made this mess. I'm just cleaning it up." He stood, his movements slow and deliberate. "You'll hear from Angela. From now on you can direct everything to her." As James walked out of the house, Rebecca's voice followed him, a mixture of pleading and fury. But he didn't stop, didn't look back. The confrontation was just the beginning. In the weeks that followed, the truth about Rebecca and Robert unraveled completely. Angela filed for divorce, citing infidelity and fraud. James's evidence, surveillance footage, messages, and DNA test results, painted an irrefutable picture of Rebecca's betrayal. Rebecca tried to fight back, insisting she hadn't known the children weren't James's. But the court wasn't swayed. The judge ordered additional DNA testing, confirming that Robert was indeed Emily and Sam's biological father. The revelations didn't stop there. Angela's team discovered that Rebecca and Robert had been planning to file for divorce first, hoping to secure a financial advantage before James found out the truth. This calculated deceit destroyed any credibility Rebecca had left. In court, Robert was forced to take the stand. The image of a confident, successful boss was replaced by that of a man racked with guilt and desperation. His testimony revealed the depth of his relationship with Rebecca and their joint efforts to deceive James. The judge's ruling was decisive. James was absolved of all financial responsibility for Emily and Sam. His assets were protected, and Rebecca's claim to spousal support was denied. Instead, Rebecca and Robert were ordered to repay James for the emotional and financial damages caused by their actions. For Rebecca, the fallout was devastating. Her social circle turned against her, friends and family recoiling in shock and disgust at her betrayal. Robert's professional reputation was equally tarnished, leaving him to face both personal and professional consequences. James stood outside the courthouse, breathing in the crisp air as the finality of the day washed over him. The judge's decision marked the end of a harrowing chapter in his life, a chapter defined by betrayal and heartbreak. For the first time in months, James felt a sense of clarity. Inside, Rebecca had broken down as the verdict was read. Her attempts to control the narrative had failed, and the weight of her actions had finally caught up with her. Robert left the courtroom without a word, his shoulders slumped, his confidence shattered. James walked away with his head held high. Angela met him at the steps, her steady presence a reminder of the support that had helped him navigate the storm. "It's over," she said, a small smile of triumph on her lips. James nodded. "Thank you, Angela. I couldn't have done this without you." In the weeks that followed, James began rebuilding his life. He moved into a new home, one free of the memories that now felt tainted. Work became a refuge, a way to channel his energy into something productive. Though he had severed ties with Rebecca and Robert, his relationship with Emily and Sam was more complicated. He loved them deeply even if they weren't biologically his. Over time, James made the difficult decision to maintain a presence in their lives, understanding that they were innocent in all of this. For Rebecca, life unraveled further. Isolated from her social circle and burdened with financial obligations, she was left to confront the consequences of her actions alone. Robert's life took a similar turn, his career and reputation in ruins. As for James, he found strength in the pain he had endured. The betrayal had left scars, but it had also taught him resilience. Each day he moved forward, determined to build a future grounded in honesty and self-respect. Standing in his new kitchen one morning, a cup of coffee in hand, James looked out the window at the sunrise. For the first time in a long time he felt at peace. The storm had passed and the horizon was clear. If this story resonated with you, be sure to like and subscribe for more captivating tales of resilience and growth.